Hello, fellow viewers. Thank you for tuning in for our mini conference regarding assessing listening. In today's video conference, we will be discussing the constructs of assessing listening, how they are implemented for assessing, how to test them properly, and the most important elements that a listening test should have. We encourage you to pay close attention to our conference, because on Wednesday, there will be a hands-on practice in which you will need to understand the upcoming information to follow up with the practice. We will begin this conference by tackling the bigger concept on this matter, which is the theory behind assessing listening. In order to begin in a proper manner, we must understand the point of view of authors related to this field. We'll begin with the definition made by Lynch and Meldelssohn in regards of the construct of listening, which follows as: listening involves making sense of spoken language, normally accompanied by other sounds and visual input, with the help of our relevant prior knowledge and the context in which we are listening. This quote links to the ability of understanding spoken language to the ability of connecting prior knowledge. A person might not understand a statement if it weren't by the time they took to learn the language and their contextual clues. Now that we have covered the construct of listening, we must move over to the subconstructs for assessing listening. We have chosen two authors to define the constructs needed for this presentation. The first author, Richards, defines the subconstructs that englobe the way you can pinpoint the growth of someone's listening skills. These subconstructs are defined as skills. We have 33 microskills for conversational listening and 18 microskills for academic listening. Then, the next author, Brown, defines the subconstructs of assessing listening in a total of 17 skills, being 10 listening comprehension microskills for conversational discourse and 7 listening macro skills for conversational discourse. These subconstructs will be disclosed thoroughly in the upcoming slides.
Richard's microskills taxonomies were later on reshaped and developed by Rust in 1990. He highlighted the importance of identifying clusters or groups of listening microskills. A key distinction is made between enabling skills and enacting skills. Enabling skills are the ones that are used to perceive what the speaker is saying and what intends to mean. These are perception, that consists of recognizing prominence within utterances, and interpretation, consisting of formulating contents of an utterance, formulating a conceptual framework linking utterances, and interpreting possible speaker intentions. Enacting skills are those used to respond appropriately to the message, and these consist of making an appropriate response. Another classification of listening subconstructs is the one developed by Van der Grift and Go in 2012.
Now we're going to talk about subconstructs, which are a guide for teachers when planning listening tasks. These authors explain 6 core skills that are integral to the listening process. Number 1, listen for details. It is to identify specific information that is relevant to the listening goal. Number 2, listen selectively. Pay attention to particular parts of a listening text and ignore the other parts that are not relevant. Number 3, listen for global understanding. To understand the overall main idea from a listening task. Number 4, listen for main idea. Understand the key points in a text. Number 5, listen and infer. To make up for information that is missing, that is ambiguous or unclear by using different resources. Number 6, listen and predict. Anticipate what is going on to be said before or during the listening by using clues from the context. Now, how do we assess listening? We have to remember that assessment is a key component of learning because it helps students learn. When students are able to see how they're doing in class, they are able to determine whether or not they understand the course material. Assessments can also help motivate students, so we have to have that into consideration. In this specific case, we assess the ability to extract and understand information that the person is listening to. For example, an audio or another person speaking. In order to assess effectively, one must take into consideration the test taker and their needs. You have to be very mindful and specific of what is expected in order for the assessment to be valid and reliable.
Listening tests consist of students listening to a passage and then answering multiple choice questions that address various levels of literal and inferential comprehension. Important elements in all listening tests are listening stimuli, questions, and test environment.
Listening stimuli should represent typical oral language, modeling the language that students may encounter in different contexts. Passages should be short and relatively interesting, besides being grounded in experience common to all students. Questions. Multiple choice items should focus on the most important aspects of the passage, not trivial details, and should measure skills from a particular domain. Answers designated as correct should be derived from the passage, without reliance on the student's prior knowledge or experience. Test environment should be free of external distractions. If stimuli are presented from a tape, the sound quality should be excellent. If stimuli are presented by a test administrator, the material should be presented clearly, with appropriate volume and rate of speaking.
How is it tested? According to the level of difficulty of the test, the teacher can use different types of tasks, like pick a word, recognize the correct tense, deduce meaning of unknown words from context, identify the main ideas, summarize through speaking or writing, listen for specific information, and listen for attitude, inferring or deducing.
Moreover, there is a variety of formats that can be used to assess listening, such as reading aloud, audio recording, listen to simulated live discussion, and answer questions by choosing the best response or by writing an answer. Also, before testing, there are some considerations the teacher must acknowledge. Is spelling important to test in a listening task? Are grammar mistakes affecting the score? The teacher must be careful to examine if the task goal is achieved. If a task involves two factors to examine, such factors must not overlap with each other.
We hope that you now understand a little bit more about assessing listening and all the implications it has. If you have any question, you can write a comment down below or wait for a presentation in class. Thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video.